G'day, readers of the Drover's Journal. Tony Fountain back with you. If James and here are looking a little bit windblown, I'm up here at Morebattle near Kelso in Scotland, and we've been up and down many a hill, and she's a bit windy, so it's good. It's breezy. It's good. So I'd like to introduce James Playfair to you.
G'day.
Mate, you're an Aussie. Right,
I love it. Love it.
And James is the principal of, along with his Debbie, his wife, of the Morebattle or Tofts Shorthorn stud here at Kelso, and it's just been a wonderful day. We're on the same wavelength. I love it. So, James, where did your involvement, your family involvement, come with Shorthorns?
Well, it actually goes back. I mean, I'm a fourth generation farmer here,
right?
And my grandfather, in days gone by, just had commercial cattle. And he used, in the early days, Lincoln Red Bulls. And then, so that would be the late 30s, early 40s. After the Second World War, my grandfather established the Tofts Angus herd. And so that was fine, we did well. He did well, we exported bulls all over the place. But we always ran a Shorthorn bull, or it was Lincoln Red and then Shorthorn, or Shorthorn Lincoln. The Shorthorns and Lincoln Reds are all one and the same, in the same herd book anyway. And anyway, so we always had a Shorthorn bull to run with what I'd call the second team cows, to produce commercial cows to live out in the hill. So that was the way it was. And my grandfather died in 1972. My father kept the business running, ticking over. He wasn't particularly interested in cattle, but yeah, they were there. On a farm like this, we need livestock. But he was more into his sheep, so that was fine. I came home from college in 1979, and in those days, Angus's, all native breeds were undesirable. Yeah. They were small little teddy bears. And the Continentals were flowing into the country. And, having been at college, everyone took the rip out of me because I had little Anguses and, the way forwards with Charolais. And I said, no. I said, the Angus job is fine. I said, what you guys need to do is go to Canada and North America and get some of these bigger cattle because they'll compete with your Charolais. Oh, rubbish. Well, that's what we did. Yeah. We went to Canada and... some of the bulls worked, the cows improved, but we still had a heap of cows that weren't just producing the goods. What do you do with them? And we tried various different bulls, breeds of bulls, Charolais, Simmies, Limmies, Blondes, over these Angus cows, second division Angus cows, and we found that the Shorthorn came out tops. Yep. And it was as a suckler cow, working amongst these Cheviot hills. So I went to Perth to buy a Shorthorn bull, and I found what I was looking for, a bull being bred by the late Ronnie Henderson at Newton Hall at Gifford. But he was a dual-purpose kind of a bull. It was back to the old Cumbrian bloodlines, which were dairy-ish, all hand-milking, bloody awful udders, big teats that you could get your hands around, and but they had milk and they had frame. And when our little Angus cows at that stage were only 450 kilos, a big 1100 kilo Shorthorn bull did the job, and we got a lift. As I say, I went to Perth, bought the bull, and then looking around at the breeders then. There was an awful lot of them that were either in wheelchairs or on walking sticks or Zimmers or whatever. Basically, the majority of them were pensioners. Yeah. And it was a case of, I don't see a future in this. So I thought, these cattle aren't going to be around for a while. So I bought a handful of females. I didn't pay a lot of money for them, because at that stage folk were getting out of the native breeds. There were Angus dispersals, there were Shorthorn dispersals. It was like rats, fleeing a sinking ship. So you could pick up things quite easily. And I just went to sales and picked up the odd female that they weren't particularly fashionable cows that I thought were making the best job of their calves. Had a bit of milk and a bit of substance to them, so got them bought. Established the Tofts herd with the intention of producing a bull, a crossing bull, to use over my second division Angus cows. And we happened to produce 2 or 3 good bulls, and because I got the show bug and I was wanting to see how competitive we were compared to other people, because we were going through great changes. Well, if I'm taking an Angus cow, I might as well take a Shorthorn bull. And, we did well. Anyway, we took Tofts Romany down to the Royal Show as a yearling, and that year, I think there was only 13 Shorthorn entries, split into 3 classes. All the bulls were in one class, and the cows were in one class, and the heifers, all ages of heifers, were in another class. Well, I think there were 5 bulls in the bull class, and I had the youngest one, and that was Romany, and I mean he was only 15, 16 months old at the time, and competing against the likes of Balmoral Crackle, that was a big 3-year-old, and other big stock bulls from other place, Upper Mill and the likes. And anyway, I was sitting there standing at the ringside and watching my bull, thinking, they've just been placed in order of size, basically, and maturity. And the late James Bigger was standing beside me with his son-in-law, Finlay McGowan, and Rowley Fraser, United Auctions auctioneer.
Fraser,
so we were all standing in a wee group, and Finlay turned round to me and said, Judge has got this the wrong way round, he's starting at the wrong end. And the consensus of opinion were these learned gentlemen, and I think James Bigger and Finlay McGowan are probably 2 of the most knowledgeable stockmen natural knowledgeable stockmen that I've ever met. And they said, James, you should have won that. Anyway, because I had Angus's and Shorthorns at the show, we were fleeting backwards and forwards between the 2 lots with opposite ends of the cattle pavilion, and every time I went near the Shorthorns, James Bigger and Finlay McGowan, you could just see them walking out the door as I approached. They were giving the bull a once over, and anyway, they were expressing interest, and I thought, well, if you're going to have a go, have a go. And I thought I could do worse than sell it to them, because I knew Finlay was sent to buy it for his commercial ling herd, and anyway, I knew that the bull was going to end up at Chapelton. So I thought that would be good publicity for me, and it was. And I mean, James Bigger always credits me. Well, he did credit me for saving the breed in the UK. And I said, no. I said, I didn't save it. I said, guys like you saved it. And we're all in it together. I think Bill Bruce at Balmoral had a bigger influence because he bought 200 females, all Shorthorns, all sizes, dairy Shorthorns to beef Shorthorns, and put a ménage over them and bred them back on each other, and got rid of the extremes at each end, and was left with a herd of cows. Okay, there were some issues, but to my mind, it was a necessary evil. Bugger the percentages. Let's get the cattle right.
Well, that was the thing. And I've really enjoyed the day I've had with you up and down the hills and looking at the cattle. But the fact that one of the things I'm still trying to come to grips with is you being breeders here, have your cattle in a shed for 6 months through winter. And then you get the pedigree breeder who keeps his stud bulls in a shed, whereas you, 12 months a year, they're out here, they're up the hills and all the rest of it. And so what are your views on what constitutes why a Shorthorn should be a Shorthorn?
I guess at the end of the day, where we are, we're farming in the Cheviot Hills. We go from 300 feet up to 1,300 feet. We're in dry country, low rainfall for UK standards, low 20s. That's between 23 and 25 inches in a normal year. I'm not quite sure when we last had a normal year. The valley floors are just gravel, so the water goes straight through.
Yep.
And there is grass on the hills, but we get a dry fortnight and we are burnt. Just like, we go the same colour as you do in Australia, just brown. So we need cattle that are functional, adaptable, can graze and live on fresh air and dead grass and get that rumen to work. And so we recognised, and I think the industry recognised as well, that the Shorthorn is a maternal breed and is required as a maternal breed. I mean, when the continental breeds first came in the late 70s, everyone had either blue-grey cows, which was the Shorthorn cross Galloway, or Hereford crosses, or Angus crosses, but they were all native-bred beef cows. And they got lost. They disappeared. And the Continentals came in, and everyone went, I used the Continentals as terminal sires. And then we ended up using dairy crosses as suckler cows, but they're too thin-skinned for being up here. And then they went to Continentals, and Continental cross dairy cows, well, they're too high maintenance, they're too thin-skinned, and we'd lost the quality of cows. And folk realised, particularly up the hills first, where the margins are a lot tighter, that we needed to get some quality back into our cows and some functionality and self-sufficiency. And that started the revival, or one of the reasons for starting the revival of the Shorthorn breed.
Right.
Because things just change so much. And, fashions are like a pendulum on the clock. They go
back and forth, we've all seen that.
And, we started at the bottom, and we've had 2.5 generations of farmers that could never get their cattle big enough or lean enough. And now we've gone too far. The processors want big carcasses for a low cost of processing. But those of us that are trying to produce that top shelf quality product, where you want a decent sized steak that you can cut it to a decent thickness so you can cook it and eat it and have it tender and tasty, you've got to have a native in there. And you don't want them too big. So
really the Tofts cattle are 100% commercially oriented and commercially grown, and that's it.
They have to be. And I mean, one of the things I've learned from my trips overseas is that we cannot afford to keep passengers. And I sit on various focus groups since Foot and Mouth, when we've been trying to get the industry back on its feet again. And the bigger we make our cattle, the more money the producers are losing. And once an animal live weight gets over 500 kilos, the conversion rates just go out the window. And it's just uneconomic. And the attitude in Britain is, just give them another bag of barley, is false economy to my mind. And then, they're in the belief, produce the kilos, you get paid by the kilo. The more kilos, the bigger the check. But they don't know this word margin that actually produces a profit. And if we're not profitable, we're stuffed. And my ambition here is to have sheep and cattle that are profitable without any form of support.
Well, there you go, folks. That's the story on the Tofts herd. And that's why I've had such a fascinating day driving or climbing up and down the hills in the Land Rover. God bless those vehicles.
Tremendous.
Here with James. It's been fantastic. So look, have a look at their website. The figures are just, the details are just down here. And, if you are looking for good, practical Shorthorn cattle, then I reckon a trip up here to Kelso would certainly not be a waste of time. Anyway, thanks for being with us. We'll catch you again soon. And remember, as long as you've got a pulse, you're having a good day. Okay, see ya. Thanks, James.
Cheers.